organising a conference entitled New Voices in Development. For in recent years, the number of organisations that are working to fight global poverty has increased dramatically. Not only has the number of NGOs risen, but also new actors, such as a lot of private sector organisations and more academics have become actively interested and involved in a fight against global poverty and in initiatives to promote human development.
This is some stuff we're working on at IDS. It's somewhat I don't know, not terribly sensibly called 3D human well-being, but it's trying to get across the three dimensions of well-being. One is what a person has. One is what they can do with what they have. So what they have is assets. What can you do with assets? You can weather storms. You can ride out shocks. And what meaning do these give to their goals and how they achieve them? So meaning is very important, and how you achieve the goals. Is it sustainable? Is it equitable? Is it respectful? Those things are very important. And there are lots of indicators, lots of quantitative indicators out there in the research community that I think folks like you could be piloting, if you're already not. You know you're way ahead of me. But I like to refer to these folks as the unusual suspects. And who am I talking about? Businesses, example, businesses and security. So you might think, well, this is boring, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been talking about it for a long time, but I don't know if we've actually been doing it. What we need to do is to begin creating a global pool of knowledge that is much more diverse, is much less dominated by our particular positions, and is much more easily contextualized.
Of course, we see some former colonies of the Netherlands, a lot of English-speaking countries. For example, in Belgium, you see more of these projects in French-speaking countries. So there are some trends that are typical for the countries you study. What are they doing? Okay, they focus merely on the majority of them focus on education and health. So they build schools or they have a hospital. Majority focuses on children and youngsters. That is really an attractive group of beneficiaries for them. And the type of projects they undertake, we typify them as bricks and mortars. So they build schools, they renovate things, you know, it has to be visible, very concrete.
So this began with a fundraiser that we organised, just two floors in the Blue Note, some bands and some DJs, and we raised €3,500. The next day, the day that I sent off that money and the feeling it gave me, was the day the Scoop was born. So I started hatching other ideas for fundraisers, and I started asking friends and acquaintances if anyone would be interested in joining this new organisation. We hadn't even a name, but we knew that that I wanted to help this orphanage, and if anyone wanted to get involved, that they could. So we had the idea that we'd start a non-profit that focused on children and their education in all its forms, and got to know the projects intimately.
If you take a textile manufacturer abroad, the realization became obvious that for them to succeed in creating any kind of sustainable development, they needed a whole set of skills. They needed good roads to get their product to market. If there's a flood, as we know only too well in the Midlands of Ireland, and your roads are destroyed, you won't get your product to market.
And we identified possible solutions in Sri Lanka and in Ethiopia. And we eventually went with Ethiopia because connecting Ethiopia, business connection, allowed us access straight into a business environment in Addis Ababa. So through Philip's organisation, we were able to hit the ground running.
What do NGOs really bring that is distinctive to development? And I think the answer is not first and foremost money. You do bring money, you raise it and you spend it, but there's a lot of money going into development. What's distinctive about you is your ability to build relatively small and innovative organizations. And so you're bringing organization design and variations in organization design combined with some money.
We have a slogan in Trócaire that guides our work, and we say, people, power and participation. And they didn't believe in that in the 1960s, the development business, and it's only very recently that in fact you'd have to say the major donors have come around to recognise that the ownership of the development process by the people whom it's supposed to benefit is key to its success.
Is it actually realistic to ask a government in a democracy to tax people by 2% of their income, or 1%, or 3/4 of 1% of their income, whatever it is, in order to transfer money out of the country? If you're going to do that, there has to be a good selling point. Because when you think of the current fiscal problems facing this country and most countries in Europe at the moment, asking governments to take tax money and to send it abroad, because that's what it is very difficult.
What we proposed to him in Bewley's, and which we later delivered on, was that, and we did this in conjunction with those UK supermarkets, because we, Bewley's, already had listings there. And we agreed to take in his green coffee, which is unroasted, into Ireland. And we did this for 2 years. We roasted the coffee into, the brand was called Good Africa Coffee. We roasted that in Dublin, and then we shipped it down our logistics channels into the UK supermarkets, which worked very well for 2 years. We charged for that because we're a company, we're there to deliver profits. But it enabled the Ugandan coffees to get a brand presence on the shelves in their own brand, not a private label. And the sales grew quite well over 2 years. And
there is a need for development because in the developing countries there is a lack of infrastructure. The market is very small, so there is a need for development assistance.
Irish business needs to realise that it is the answer to development problems. It is creating long-term jobs that is the solution. So what we want them to do is to be a bit more creative, look at the opportunities, particularly in a country like Ethiopia, which has got very low wages, huge potential, a safe country, and businesses can cooperate with them, make investments or purchase their products, and that really does change the country in a major way.
We've got to get better at scoping different actors. We've got to get better at working with the defence industry, the private sector, the faith-based organisations, the trade unions. The way in which we work together has to be cognizant of power differences, respect. The key thing is we've got to understand each other's language, and the only way to do that is to start.
They can learn a lot, that is for sure. And if you look especially what they can learn, I think it is especially in the field of cooperating with your local partner, you know? How do you select a local partner organization and how do you organize this cooperation, you know? I think that is really something they can learn from established NGOs.